Hey guys, so today we're talking about derivatives. This is just going to be a really quick review. Two things to mention first. If anyone has any recommendations for a site that I could write stuff on and record, that'd be great. I don't quite like having to take videos and write as I speak, and I also don't like doing this on loose leaf because I feel like it's kind of low effort, and I really do want to get a lesson across in a way that makes sense and is easy to convey. And the second thing is that this is more or less pre-calc level derivatives. We're not going to talk about natural logarithms or any of the trig functions, except for like really basic ones like sine, cosine. And yeah, this is just a very, very quick review. Okay, so let's start. The derivative of a constant is always going to be equal to 0. This derivative, and I stress that on the right side, it's pi. That equals 0. The derivative of I or E or 2 or 2 over 1 or 2 over 3, it all equals 0. If there's no variable, the thing equals 0, the derivative of it. All right, and then next up, we have 4x squared. This is the power rule now we're going on to. So we multiply the 4 by our exponent of 2. So we get 8x, and then we subtract 1 from our exponents, and we get 8x to the 1th as our final answer. Very simple. Some people get tripped up when we're talking about fractions, so let's try to make this kind of simple. 1 over x squared is the same exact thing as saying x to the negative 2. Remember, a positive number to the power of a negative exponent is still positive, right? So we subtract 1, and be careful. Be careful, because what some people do is they do negative 2 minus 1, and then they put their answer as x to the negative 1. Remember, negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. It's not negative 1, so keep that in mind. So we multiply by the exponent, then we subtract 1 from the exponent, easy peasy. We get negative 2 times x to the negative 3, which is equal to negative 2 over x cubed. Next up, we're going to talk about the product rule. Now, again, some people would ask, why do we have to use the product rule? In calculus, it gets a little more complicated. Obviously, for this, you can just distribute, but I just wanted to use an easy example to show how the product rule works. So we have two functions, f of x and g of x. F of x equals x squared, f prime of x equals 2x, g of x equals 2 plus 4x, and then g prime of x would then just equal 4. Very, very simple calculations. Make sure you can just kind of do that stuff in your head. And we know the product rule is given by f of x, g prime of x plus f prime of x, g of x. And this should be equal to the derivative of f of x times g of x. Okay, so we do x squared times 4. This is f of x times g prime of x, and that gives us 4x squared. Then we do f prime of x times g of x, which is 2x times 2 plus 4x. That gives us 4x plus 8x squared. Our final answer is 12x squared plus 4x. This is something you should remember. Yeah, this is the product rule. So make sure you know f of x, g prime of x plus f prime of x, g of x. Next up, we have the quotient rule. So say we have something like x squared plus 2x. Again, we set our equation, fx, gx. F of x equals the top, g of x equals the bottom. F prime of x equals the derivative of the top, g prime of x equals the derivative of the bottom. This is the general equation. Make sure you know it. And it has to be in this order. F prime of x times g of x has to be first. Subtract f of x times g prime of x. That has to be the second. And then divide it all by g of x. So in more simple terms, the derivative of the numerator times the denominator minus the numerator times the derivative of the denominator all over the denominator squared. So we plug everything in, we simplify further, we continue to simplify, and we get x squared minus 1 over 2x squared. Pretty simple stuff. Again, just make sure you know this equation, or at least remember in your head the numerator-denominator thing. Derivative of the top times the bottom minus the top times the derivative of the bottom all over the bottom squared. All right. Last but not least, we have the chain rule. So let's say we have f of x equals 4 sine of 2x. So 4 is a constant, we don't need to touch it. After that, we have sine. We want to take the derivative of sine, which we should know is cosine. So the 2x, we keep inside the derivative. If we're ever taking the derivative of something like sine 2x or tan 2x or something, in our final answer, something should have 2x inside of it. So we want to keep the 2x inside the derivative, and then, once we have all of that done, we want to multiply what we now have by the derivative of the inside being 2x, right? So our final answer should be 4 times the derivative of 2x times the derivative of sine, which we know is cosine, and then the inside stays the same, 2x. And our answer over here, we get 4 times 2 times cosine of 2x. We get 8 cosine 2x, and that is our answer. And yeah, that's pretty much all you need to know for pre-calc derivatives. Yeah, have a good one.